It really came from my own problems. Like I used to have a grocery shops, and then every week I would buy products and then spending, a couple of thousands, but there's nothing for me to really rely on. So, it's a lot of it was about my hunches, what looks right. But so, and I feel like there's a big problems in there. We're making all these high dollar buying decisions on nothing but hunches.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Founders in LA podcast. I'm your host Ethan Cole, and this is an opportunity to shine the spotlight through a product lens on some of the exceptional founders we have as part of the LA community in an unedited, one-take organic conversation. With us today in the studio is Mike Chen. Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Ethan. I'm so happy to be here.
This is going to be a great one. I'm excited for you to be here.
Thanks.
But first, a word for our sponsors. Founders in LA is brought to you by Nearshore. Nearshore is a trailblazer in nearshore outsourcing and staff augmentation. With over 15 years of experience offering exceptional Latin American software development, data, product, and design talent for U.S. products, Nearshore has revolutionized the way companies scale their teams. They stand apart with 50% female leadership, are trusted by companies large and small, and have been helping U.S. customers grow since before nearshoring was cool. Discover how Nearshore can power your tech goals and help you stay lean while scaling fast. Learn more at www.nearshore.com. That's www.nearsure.com. We're also brought to you by Unita. Unita Club is a co-working space that sets itself apart. With locations in El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, and Hermosa, Unita is where creativity flourishes. Unlike traditional offices, they provide an inspiring environment where ideas can thrive and businesses can grow. With Unita, there's no hidden fees, flexible terms, options for dedicated offices, and unlimited access to conference rooms, a photo studio, this podcast studio, plus standard 3D printers and 24/7 access at any of their locations. They're local champions who support neighborhood businesses, open their event spaces to nonprofits, and celebrate art, music, and culture. Join Unita Club and experience co-working like never before. Learn more at www.unita.club. That's www.unita.club. Our guest today is Mike Chen. He is the co-founder and CEO at Cohere Commerce. Hey, Mike, can you just give us a 30-second description of Cohere?
Absolutely. So I co-founded a retail intelligence startup called Cohere Commerce, and then our platform lets retail buyers source vendors with verified marketing sites. And our data engine also helps brands to understand the right retail fit, increase distributions, and also grow market credibility.
Wow. So your company helps retailers better understand the vendors who they might be working with. Is that?
Yeah. I think an easier way to think about what we are is kind of like Glassdoor, but for B2B retail.
Oh, nice. So you help them provide understanding of like, what is this? Who is this vendor? Are they trustworthy? What's their specialty? What are people saying about them?
Yeah, in a way, because it really came from my own problems. Like I used to have a grocery shops, and then every week I would buy products and then spending, a couple of thousands, but there's nothing for me to really rely on. So, it's a lot of it was about my hunches, what looks right, but so, and I feel like there's a big problems in there. We're making all these high dollar buying decisions on nothing but hunches. So, yeah.
So it's definitely ripe for opportunity for data to be input in a place where data really wasn't
absolutely
at play before.
Yeah.
And in terms of, how you've gone about that, was that like the data that you're collecting is you're getting it from, other, I guess, customers or other clients of the vendors?
Yeah. So it's a lot of like retailers that are posting reviews and sharing insights about, where do we place them in the certain aisles that actually drives like higher sell-through rates, and a lot of the insights that you would otherwise wouldn't be able to know, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So it's not only helping you like, hey, do I trust this company? Are they going to make good on their deliveries, make good on deliveries on time? But it's also tips and tricks about, hey, we found that this placement actually does better on the shelves. And this is a way for you as a small business proprietor to do better for yourself by us being able to provide you with some analytics and learnings that we found it similar places.
Absolutely. I mean, it's super, valuable to even brands as well. Just imagine like now they can walk into like, Whole Foods. Great, like let's put us in this aisle that's going to create like double the sell-through rates than any other sections. So yeah, we have a lot of those kind of insights.
Is that as I've understood today? This may be a little bit out of. Forgive me if it's out of the scope, but my familiarity with that space is that there's kind of a pay-to-play, some sort of pay-to-play model where I believe some vendors are paying for prime spots on the shelf, but again, at this point, if that's the case, and you're shaking your head yes, you're nodding your head yes, it sounds like that what you add is another layer. So yeah, it's pay-to-play, so you might be getting some additional revenue in terms of someone placing for a shelf, but that's probably not all vendors. It's probably not all locations. But this data you're talking about, this kind of buying information about, hey, here's how you succeed. So I could see a world where if you have the data, you could almost correlate, okay, your X vendor is telling me that they'll pay me for the shelf space, but I know that if I put Y in that place, my margins are actually better. So it's actually better for me to forego that, that pay to play model for product X because product Y is actually better for me as the store. Or is that not really the right?
It's really up to how retailers want to use this kind of data, I'll say. And then like what you're describing is like known as a slotting fee, I presume, and then end caps, and then all those. It can cost a lot, but I think what we're mostly focused on is that we want every retailer's, because the problem is that if you're looking on a website, like all of these new brands, as a retail buyer, I'm looking at it, they all have 5-star reviews. All of them has great marketing, but me as a buyer, I need to know like, do they provide great demo support to help me move the product off my shelves? Do they, given that I'm sure they all taste great and have great packaging, but I care more about beyond, what's already, just from looking at the book cover, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So that's helpful. So it's kind of those insights, the kind of behind the scenes guide to how is it actually moving in the market? How is the best way to use and place this product? Because to your point, it's almost hard at this point to trust online reviews in many respects. So this one, they're probably getting their favorite vendors to make reviews. They're probably getting their friends to leave reviews if you don't need to be a verified purchaser or the parallel to that. So everyone says, hey, everything is going to be great. Everything's going to look great. Yeah. But as you as a small shop proprietor, it's great that everything looks great, but you want the insights of how is it actually moving, and Cohere is able to solve that for them. Yeah,
pretty much. Like we try to bring in like transparency to the whole retail industry, and this is not just something that's faced by just smaller shops like I have. It's also like mid-market. There's like chain retailers that we currently work with. They use us to source vendors because they get pitched a lot. You talk about a couple hundred pitches that buyers have to review on a weekly basis. It's crazy. How are you going to evaluate all of those? But you still need to make decisions. And then so that comes really hard. So we try to bring in like efficiency and also transparency to the whole sourcing process.
How did you find yourself in this position, in this role? How did you determine that you wanted to dedicate a good chunk of your life to
building startup?
And to this specific startup, yeah.
This is our second startup with the same team. It's a weird crowd, but we really like to solve problems. And build something that's impactful for people. And then this is really a problem that I hold very dear to. I wanted to solve that, and then I also happen to be a data scientist, and I know that once we have that kind of insight, it's really going to change how people communicate, and it's going to help the whole industry to become a better place.
And your journey in working in those shops, is that how did that inform your direction for this?
Keep you a little specific.
Oh, you said you either had your own retail shop. So how did that play into it?
That's my initial problem. Like I mentioned, we really had problem sourcing. Like I would buy products, but it doesn't sell. Like if I use those marketplaces online, wholesale ones, and I would stock them, look great, but it doesn't move. That's the thing. I'm a buyer, and then because they all tell me that it's gonna sell in my shops, but I don't know if it's right for my customers, right? So that's kind of the main challenge that we faced. And then we ended up did a lot of trials and error, and then wasted a lot of fun.
Was that before you were a data scientist, or was that a previous life after, or is it after data science? I'm trying to get a gauge of while you're in the moment as you're the small shop proprietor, was your kind of data science brain kind of like chugging along, being, oh, there's got to be a better way to do this. This is driving me nuts. Like there's not enough data.
I mean, this is recent. So I had a shop doing pandemic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And so as you're doing it, you know the data, you do it for, every day. And here you are and you have a problem space that there's not enough data, that you're going more on hunches than you really would want to.
Yeah. And then just the whole industry, as I getting more and more into the retail, we found that it's a very almost like antiquated industry that's ready for some kind of disruption because it's so many layers built in. We're talking about like wholesalers, brokers, distributors, all these layers just for one brand to get to, shelf. How can we make that more transparent? How can we streamline this whole process, make it more efficient? Because right now, like, give an example, like a brand wants to open up a new market, they would hire a broker, go door to door, build that relationship with the retail buyers, and then sometimes the check size can be only like $200, but it takes a lot of time, a lot of relationship building. It can take like months to just even build up a presence in the new city. Or they can do something like an activation campaign. Those cost like 6 figures and more. Insanely crazy. So yeah, that's the whole goal that we're trying to bring the value for this whole industry.
Give them more hard concrete data, so it's not solely, not as reliant on relationships, right? So instead of having, hey, it's a relationship, you build trust, you trust me, this will work. Yes, you want to build the trust, you want to build the relationship, but this gives you the opportunity to say, hey, here's some hard data, here's some hard
Correct.
Numbers to back up what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's to help people make better decisions. I think that's the key.
So you had your own shop, you faced this own problem yourself. How did you get your first customers for this?
First customer, let's see. Also, I think, so it's probably Tyler. And then so we did an event once with Patagonia's, and then Tyler was a CPG brand, so he had a really cool like snack brands. And then he reached out, and then we started talking. I think back then, Cohere was still at a very early. We're still like finding our values and finding our problems and how can we build a solution around that. So we're still exploring, and then he really like clicked with our vision. Like we know what we want to bring to industry. Like we want to bring in qualitative data to help people make better decisions. He loved that idea, and also his family had a retail shop, so he understands the struggle that his parents went through when they're sourcing products. It takes a lot of time, a lot of trials and error, and then so we kind of bonded, and then he helped out with a lot of products, iterations, gave us a lot of feedback from a brand perspective, and very supportive.
Where did you find him?
He reached out to us.
Before you said you saw him at an event. Did you reach out before the event or
before the event? Yeah.
So how do you think he found you? That's interesting. We don't often get like inbound for people's first customers. So how do you think he knew how to locate you for that first one?
So we had we were hosting the events in collaboration with Patagonia's, and it was a great demo, like an opportunity for these younger brands. So we posted into like a community, and then he reached out.
Oh, that's great. So part of your success story in getting your early customers was putting on an in-person event and partnering with, what you said, with Patagonia's?
Yeah.
Is that not the clothing brand, right?
It is, yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good part. How'd you score a partnership with Patagonia to start?
I mean, you just ask them. Yeah. We wanted to build like a ethical kind of. It was the vision kind of aligned. So we were doing it for the Small Business Saturday, like for the Thanksgiving one, and then we wanted to highlight some of the sustainable brands and then ethically sourced, and then they loved it, and we wanted to host events to bring in some like CPG brands that are emerging. Yeah, that's kind of the idea.
Wow. All right, let me recap this because I think this is fascinating. So early in the development of Cohere, you were able to team up with Patagonia, like a very solid, very well-known brand, because you aligned with their mission with sustainability, and you were able to, I guess, piggyback on the small business Saturday ahead of Thanksgiving as a means to, hey, here's an event. They're probably going to want to do something, or if they're not, they'd be open to it. They are a well-respected brand, but they're also very well known for their good nature and goodwill.
Absolutely.
And so you're saying, hey, here's something for you guys. We'll do a joint event with you. We're going to bring all these sustainable and ethical products to this event, who all have a shared mission with you guys, shared values. And in creating that event, you actually netted your first customer who reached out before you even had the event.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's incredible, Mike. So then I have to go back to another thread I'd love to pull. So you mentioned that this was the same team from a previous startup. How do you think that helped you in building this one? So is it either that you had the right people in place, or were there learnings that you were able to build upon from that first group or the first venture and then put into this one? Because it seems like, from right off the bat, you had some very, I don't want to say strategic, but just very successful methods for trying to, it's advanced, I guess. It's not, you weren't going in there with, doe eyes, like not knowing what you're going to do. It seems like you had some strong ideas. I'm wondering, was any of that because the team had worked together in the past and you were able to kind of build upon what you'd already grown together as a group, or totally not? It was a great idea that you guys were able to put together.
No, I think there's a lot of learnings. Our last startup, and then we were mostly B2C, and then it was a pandemic kind of startup. So we took advantage of that and quickly scaled to like a couple thousand users, so which is fun. And then, but the learning is that, we wanted to do B2B now, so B2C was very hard, and then customer acquisition cost is very high, so we learned that. And I think in terms of team, there's just a different kind of trust, once you build a second startup. Like, I full-heartedly rely on our team to, do anything. They don't need my supervision to do. They can call the shots, and I trust them wholeheartedly.
That's great. One of the recurring themes that we have on the show is building the team. The core team is so important.
Absolutely.
For the early stage of startups. If, again, no one wants the first one to fail, but even if that first one does fail,
I think that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. If you can learn from it and bring back some of the core team members, oftentimes it's really beneficial. Then everyone breaks up and goes their separate ways, because you're almost missing out on capital, some like learning,
right,
education capital that you guys all had together, and you went through it the first time. And if you enjoyed each other's presence, especially as things go south,
yeah,
man, that will help you traverse some challenges whenever they come up in the new one.
For sure. I really love challenges. We are like that.
Are there any other challenges? What are some challenges that you guys have faced recently and you've overcome?
Just for me personally, I don't know if you know that, like, I used to be a chef like years ago. So I used to have been cooking since high schools, and then worked my way up to Michelin, 2 stars, Robuchons, Ritz-Carlton, all of those.
Wow.
So I'd done that, and then I was 21, and then I feel that at that point I can see my next 30 years, like working my way up to the kitchens, work through the ranks, and then eventually open up my own place. Boring, and I wanted more challenge, so I decided to tell myself to become a data scientist, and then went on to become the founding data scientist for Wynn Encore Casinos. Oversaw the betting strategies.
Wynn Encore Casinos.
Yeah, in Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah, so all of those, like everything gambling related, table games, all those. So I am weird. Yeah, I like that.
Are there any challenges that come to mind, like recently, like in this past week, that you were faced with and were able to overcome? Imagine in the stage you guys are, recently graduated from Techstars. Yeah. What's a challenge that you faced recently, and how did you overcome it? maybe something last week. It doesn't have to be a huge one, but just kind of like curious to hear more about how you approach them.
How we approach them, let's see. I think we're rolling out some new products, so I'm sure that there's a lot of challenge in that. But I mean, it's you just work through it, kind of almost like you find ways to improvise and then find hacks around it and then just make it work.
Is there one that comes to mind? If they're like, it doesn't have to be like a big one. It could be like, tax season's coming up, and we had to figure out who we're gonna pay or who the person's gonna be. Like as an early stage founder, you have 1,000 hats on, right? So
sure, yeah.
There's no shortage of things that you're overcoming. Is there one you're particularly proud of? Something you've overcome recently? Like, wow, I didn't know that was part of my job description, but I just took care of that one.
Oh man, I feel like there's so many, but for some reason I'm blanking on it. I'll think about it.
We'll have to have you back, Mike. You can tell us about more challenges. And grounding this in Los Angeles, we always like to ask on the show, what was your most LA moment? And it doesn't have to be tech related. Maybe you're a chef in a Michelin restaurant. I don't know if that was in Los Angeles. And you were definitely in the Wynn Casino doing data science. So I wonder if there's going to be something interesting coming here. It could be Sin City. It could be LA. You tell me.
Sure. I mean it's LA, so it's probably also going to be food related. So I also had my own restaurant here in LA, and then and coffee shop, and then so that was fun. And then I came to know a lot of chefs in LA scene, and I found that there's a big fusion scene here in LA that I didn't expect, and then a lot of immigrant focus. And I know some good Filipino chefs, and then the Mexican chef, of course, and some restaurants like Poltergeist, like Barcelona, and these. It's hard to say, they don't have a specific cuisine. I wouldn't say they're French, Spanish, or any of those. It's like a mix, but in a good way. So I love that. It's very, very interesting.
If you were going to recommend one restaurant for a foodie who's listening to the show in Los Angeles, what would it be?
Ooh,
what are a couple? Just you could rattle off a couple. I'm sure they'd appreciate it.
So for me personally, I'm a big fan of Israeli cuisines, and then also French cuisine. That's kind of also what I cook most, and I was trained mostly in French. But my personal favorite in LA is a restaurant called Bavel. Yeah, in downtown LA.
All right.
Great food.
Bavel. All right. Well, thank you so much again, Mike. Thank you for sharing about Cohere. Thank you for giving your culinary recommendations. I can guarantee someone's going to enjoy that. Wow. Well, thanks again for joining us. And we might have to have you back so you can tell us about some of those challenges you're facing in maybe
absolutely
6 months or so. Love having folks back. I'd like to thank our sponsors again, Nearshore and Unida. I'd like to thank you all for listening to us. And if you like what you hear, please smash that subscribe button. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you next time on Founders in LA.